Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to the podcast. I've got a fantastic guest coming from my hometown, Houston, Texas, Errol Allen, and he is a operations consultant. We're going to hear and learn all about what that is. He's going to talk to us about his work, and I'm really excited to have him on and add value to the show. Errol, welcome.
Good morning, Chris. I'm glad to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, and briefly introduce yourself, and first time I've heard what an operations consultant is, and I'm really excited to delve into the questions.
I'm Errol Allen, native Houstonian. This is home. As an operations consultant, I help my clients to create efficient and effective business processes. That's my primary goal with my clients, is to help them to run their business as efficiently and as effectively as possible.
Yeah. And so the question is, because you've worked with ADT Security and Houston Post and Geico, what sort of skills and led you to operations consultant? And when people hire you and work with you, what are they looking to solve their problem, or what are they looking to achieve?
What they're looking to solve is chaos, right? There's a lot of chaos in the business operations-wise, right? Things are not running as well as they could, or there's employee complaints about how things are done, or there's customer complaints about how things are done or not done, or the company is growing and the way they did things needs to be changed. The way they were doing things, they've outgrown it. Those are the main things that I hear, especially the chaos. There's a lot of chaos. One hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing. Cross department, we're just horrible. And what led me, this is funny, Chris, I'm analytical by nature. I analyze everything. I just can't help it. And I ask a lot of questions. So during my time in corporate America with ADT and the Post and Geico and a couple of other places, I always found myself asking, how can this be done better? How can this be done better? In one corporate stop with TCI Cablevision, I was an operations analyst. And that wasn't like work, that was fun. So when I decided to leave corporate America, I asked myself, when was I having the most fun? And it was when I was an operations analyst, because I'm just analytical by nature. I can't help it. I think everybody has at least one gift. Most of us have multiple gifts, and being analytical is one of my gifts. So it's not like work to me. It's fun.
Yeah, really interesting. And I love your passion and your enthusiasm. And it sounds like a lot of struggling businesses or solopreneurs, when you talked about this operations chaos, they don't have processes or documentation. And how do you start by creating processes for business owners and entrepreneurs?
There's a little methodology I use. What is it that you do, right? What are your, if it's a company, what are your departments, right? What are the roles within each department? And then what are the tasks for each role? When you identify the tasks for each role, those are your processes right there, right? Process or onboarding new clients. If you have an onboarding specialist, that's one of their tasks, onboarding new clients. Well, the natural question for me is, how do you do that? What steps are necessary to onboard a new client? And then the next question becomes, how do you do each step? So you develop what steps are taken. That's your process. And then you hear people talk about standard operating procedure or SOP. Then how do you do each step? That becomes your SOP. So in my mind, it's really just that simple, Chris.
What's the most important component of a process?
Ooh, the most important component of a process is the handoff. Right? You've done your task within the process. Usually it's going somewhere else for somebody to do something else. So, how are you handing that off? And are you including everything that's needed in the handoff for the next person to do their task? Because if you don't give them everything they need, it's going to stop. The process stops, right? And it's probably coming back to you because, hey, you didn't give me everything I needed, so please do. So now it stopped. There's a delay, and then you can create a bottleneck. If you're constantly sending this person something and you're not giving them what they need, now things are stacking up. And so in my mind, the handoff is the most important part of the process.
Interesting. So the number when you help clients, you talk about this process documentation journey, and what's the number one item required before embarking on this process documentation journey?
Commitment from leadership. Because if the commitment is not there, it won't happen because it's very tedious work. I love it, but I know everybody's not me. It's very tedious and it's not going to be done within a week, a month, 2 months. It's going to take some time. So there has to be some commitment to the long term journey. So without commitment, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. The next question is the thing is because once you talk about identifying process and starting the process documentation journey, a lot of it's like SOPs. And in this day and age, a lot of business owners are trying to automate their processes. How do you determine what steps to automate in a process?
The first thing is to flow chart the process out, right? So you can see what you're doing and then identify what part of this process can we automate. And usually you're looking at something where it's repetitive. Somebody's constantly entering data, right? You can automate data entry or even the handoff. Chris, we talked about the handoff earlier. You can automate the handoff to make sure that the next person gets what they need. But the primary thing is to flow it out to see what the process is because people get excited. Automation is like when you're a kid and you see your friend with a new bike and you want a new bike, right?
Yeah.
So now everybody wants to automate and they just start automating things. But don't automate a bad process. Make sure you flow it out first so your automation is really good for the process and for everybody that's involved in the process or impacted by the process.
Interesting. And then the other talk about is how often should processes be reviewed?
I would say every 6 months is a good time frame. But I tell my clients when you're having your team meetings, make one of the questions that's asked in the team meetings or your process is still working for you. Because people will tell they're doing the work every day. And if they have that freedom, this is a culture thing, a company culture. If the company culture allows them to speak freely and speak up, then they'll tell you, hey, I think we need to adjust whatever it is that needs to be adjusted. Yeah, 6 months is a good time, but constantly ask the question, are your processes still working for you?
And I love this. And we're talking about the details. And you mentioned every 6 months with your team. You talk about who should be included in flow charting sessions and why customer feedback is important in regards to processes.
Who should be included? The people that do the work in the process, the people that are impacted by the work in the process, and the people that feed the process. You want to make sure you have those people in the flow charting session. If you leave anybody out, you're going to miss something. So you don't want to leave anybody in those three groups out. You want to make sure you have those people. Your second question was about customer. What?
Yeah. What the question was customer feedback, and why is customer feedback important in regards to processes?
When customers give you feedback, especially if it's negative feedback, they're telling you what to work on. If you see a pattern in the feedback, they're telling you what to work on. So you just ask yourself, what process or processes are connected to this feedback? And they're just telling you what to go work on. So that's what I think is important.
One of the things I've seen in team meetings is a lot of employee resistance. And why do employees resist the process documentation journey, and how do you overcome that resistance?
A lot of them resisted out of fear, right? Because you're documenting how things get done. Some people get a little nervous. Actually, I was on with a client this morning, Chris, and one of the department heads, she admitted that when we initially started talking about doing it, she admitted that she thought her boss wanted to do it because they wanted to replace her. So some people, this lady has just crazy knowledge of how things go in this organization, right? But that's what she was thinking, that you're doing this so you can replace me. Right? So some people just have that fear. And then sometimes employees resist taking on the journey because either the company has started other projects and never finished them, so they go something else, or because it's very tedious, they feel like they don't have time to be involved in something like this. And I overcome it with, this is to make things easier for you, because eventually that's what's going to happen. We're going to identify some things that can be done quicker, better, or some things that can be maybe eliminated or automated. It's going to make things easier for you. And then also, when you document your processes, you automatically create training tools, right? People will be trained better. People in other departments that maybe impact your particular department, they will no longer negatively impact you because they'll be trained better. So you just talk to the pluses. What are the pluses of taking on this project? And usually you can overcome it with that. And then give them a voice. And that's why I say you need the right people in flow charting sessions, right? Because it gives them a voice. They can speak up about how things are done and what they feel like needs to be changed. So you overcome it with including them in the process documentation journey.
Interesting. Talk about some of the impact of process documentation and what is impacted when processes are documented.
Training. I'm big on training. That's probably one of the easiest ways to get on my bad side, is not to train people properly and have expectations that they don't go together. So you're able to train people better because you have your processes document. That's your training tool. Right? Employee morale is impacted now because things work better internally. So employee morale is boosted. And when things work better internally, usually whoever your external customer is, your paying customer, they get a higher level of service, right? So your customer experience is positively impacted. And what do people do when they have a good experience with your company? They refer other people to you. They do business with you longer because which is a lot of things, Chris, that are intertwined when you choose to document your process.
Excellent. How can people connect with you and learn more from you and reach out to you?
You can go to my website, documentyourprocesses.com, or you can email me at errolallenconsulting.com. Those are the two best ways to get me. I'll go on my LinkedIn profile, send me a message. Either way, you'll get a response.
Excellent. Thanks so much for coming on. And it was really interesting to talk with the operations consultant and talk about the actual nitty gritty. And thanks so much and keep up the great work.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.